Are you starting us off?
I'm going to start us off.
Okay, great.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Studio. This is episode 3 of our Getting Married, Start Here series. I'm Danielle. We talked about this earlier, but we don't really introduce ourselves. But the person talking right now is Danielle. And
I'm Dylan. I'm talking right now. I'm sure that you guys probably put 2 and 2 together, but maybe not.
Yeah, but we figure we'll just, insert this here.
So today, we are going to be talking about some fun stuff. But before we get started, we're going to talk about some little things that's going on here around the studio and around the house and stuff. So, Danielle, what is something pretty cool that happened today?
Well, we got a text this morning from Kim, who we used to work for, and she was like, hey, I've got some audio and video equipment that you can have, but you have to come pick it up today. And we were like, ooh, intriguing.
And he said, absolutely. We love free things.
Absolutely.
Who doesn't love free things?
Right. So Dylan went and picked it up. It was kind of like a surprise box, one of those, you pay $10. And it's a mystery box that's worth $100 or something. I don't know, but it felt that way.
Yeah, it was fun. We got some really cool new podcasting gear that we're very excited to set up. I think we're going to maybe use it next week?
Episode, maybe. But I really honestly wish that I would have recorded Evan's reaction because he was just a kid on Christmas.
He said it's Christmas. He literally said it's Christmas. So we were pretty
really
hype
fun.
about that. That was super exciting. So shouts out to them for just being great.
Yeah.
And being great to us.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Forever. And then this weekend, we got a pretty big weekend coming up, right?
Yeah, it's pretty huge. We have we're dispatching everybody
pretty
on
much,
our team, except for Tiffany.
Yeah, Tiffany.
But Dylan, Evan, Corey, and Olivia will be at one wedding doing photo and video, and then me, Megan, and Bree will be at another wedding doing photo and photo booth. So it's a busy weekend.
Yep, our first weddings of the 2023 year. So we're pretty excited for them. We've had both of these couples booked for quite a minute. So we've been able to walk through the whole process with them, engagements, and all kind of good stuff. So we're pretty hype.
Yep. And it's weird because it's when you think about a wedding in 2023, it was so far away, and now it is here.
Yeah,
and
literally.
We just doing the year over again. I feel like it was January of 2022 just yesterday, but I'm glad it's not because we were living in the camper then. So
yeah, 2022.
We're off to a better start so far in 2023.
Yeah, 22 was a rough year for us, but we're excited for what this year has to hold. Yeah. And we're also excited for you because hopefully you got engaged during this season, right?
Right, or maybe it'll happen next week.
Yeah, wink, wink. Valentine's Day is coming up. Let's go.
I don't know what a wink, by the way. If you're watching the video, it was horrible.
All right, so what we've talked about in our past episodes of this podcast and of this season are a few different things. So if you've missed those, you should definitely check them out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can watch these videos on YouTube. But at this point, we are assuming that you're engaged. You've got your ring, hopefully. Or it might be around the corner. Like Danielle said, we are assuming that your date and venue have been set, and that in our last podcast, we talked about our vendors. So you probably won't have all these vendors booked, but at the very least, ideally, you would have reached out to vendors to start talking about availability and all that kind of good stuff.
And at the very, 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 very least, you should have at least a list of these vendors that you want to contact, and you're ready to go on that. You may not have contacted them yet, but you're prepared to.
Yeah.
So then up next on your to-do list should be selecting / asking, talking about, getting ready your bridal party / wedding party.
Which do you say? Do you say wedding party or do you say bridal party?
I like wedding party.
I do too.
Because that
is everybody. It's assumed everybody.
Yeah, when you say bridal party, it makes me just think the girls.
Same. And it makes the guys also think the girls.
Right.
Because I know at weddings, when the DJ's hey, I need the bridal party at the cake.
The guys are nowhere to be found.
And when they do come, they're I'm not a part of the bridal party. I'm You're kind of not wrong.
Yeah,
I feel like
I think
that's
like
girls.
technically both terms are correct. However, we're just going to from now on refer to it as wedding party.
Yes.
Because it's better.
It's mo easy.
It's better for you.
So when we're talking about your wedding party, there's going to be a few things that you need to decide. So first thing we're going to talk about is the size of our wedding party. Do we want a big wedding party? Do we want a small wedding party?
Yeah, so let's see. Let's list out some of the pros of having a big wedding party.
So we're gonna...
That was unplanned, but we totally just planned it in our heads like last second. Like we were just, we were there. We were one. Okay, so, but for real though, like a pro to having a big wedding party would be like, for all of the events that you're planning that like cost money and stuff, like there's more people to split the finances with and stuff, so that
like if you're going on a trip or something.
Yeah, like if you're going on a trip and you're like getting an Airbnb, well, if you have like 10 girls that you're splitting it with versus 3, obviously that's going to be cheaper.
Right. And the more the merrier too. Like a lot of times the more people you have in your wedding party or at those parties or events or whatever, just the funner it is.
You have more people supporting you, being happy for you, stuff like that. So that's always fun. In a, less serious note, I made a joke in the notes and like it's less funny in retrospect, but I'm going to go for it anyway. But if you plan on doing that groomsmen photo where you have all of the groomsmen holding the groom, how are you going to do that with only 2 groomsmen? You need more than that.
And maybe it depends. 2 people could
I don't know.
pick me
They
up.
could be like super buff. I don't know.
And then some of the cons though that we're going to talk about are
there's a lot of cons.
Yeah, there's quite a many cons. To be
Quite
honest.
a many. It's hard to fit them all in a photo.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it,
if you got 10 people
on
a
each
girl's
side,
side, 10 on a guy's, you're talking 20 people.
Yeah, you're gonna have to be wider.
Plus,
everyone's gonna be smaller unless you have like a venue that has like stairs and then you can like stack people up, which that's really nice. But more often than not around here,
you don't got it.
You don't got it, and so you got to have like a super wide photo. Everyone's teeny tiny in it. You can't even see anyone. Or like if you try and stack people, then some people just got floating heads.
Yeah, it gets difficult from a photo standpoint, but also the more people you have in too, the more personalities you have to deal with too, like having
like
different friend groups together, right, and things like that. So that's something to consider. If you have a ton of people, if your friend group is just huge and everybody gets along, like that's great.
Yeah.
But also you might have your work friends that you want in your in your party, and then your high school friends, and then they might not clash, so they might be totally different people. That's just something to kind of think about that people don't think about.
Right. And time-wise, it takes longer for photos because if you're getting one picture with every single one of them, obviously that's going to take more time.
Yeah.
Like it's going to take twice as much time if your wedding party is twice the size of another wedding party. Anyway, you get the idea.
And then a lot of times too, it just becomes to be just too much, too overwhelming, too many people giving you, the couple, like things that you either need to be doing or too many ideas, or it can be a bit much.
On the other hand, then you have a lot of help and you can delegate many things that you need to get done. Like if you are DIYing decor, you got way more people to help you.
Right.
So, I don't know. Things to think about. There's pros and cons to that. Then now we can like go through pros and cons of having a smaller wedding party, which might overlap with some of the things we just said. But having a smaller wedding party is less stressful just because there's less people to manage.
Right. It's quicker when it comes to photos and like just other things in general.
Yeah, you won't spend like as much of your time taking a gazillion wedding party photos.
Or even think about like your ceremony. How long do you want your ceremony to last?
Ooh, good point, because all them people's going to have to walk down the aisle.
Yeah. And like if you got 20 people walking down the aisle versus 5, it's a big difference. We actually shot a wedding where it took longer for everyone to walk down the aisle than it did to be like, I do, you may now kiss. Let's go. Like,
the majority of the ceremony was people walking down the aisle.
Yeah. Like,
which was crazy.
Kid you not. So that's something to think about, is the amount of people you have in your party definitely affects the length of your ceremony, as well as the length of taking photos, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And then, like we mentioned earlier, like if you are going on a trip, getting an Airbnb, when you have less people, to split it with, it's going to be more expensive. However, I have a solution for you guys if you're looking for one. Did you know that you don't only have to take people in your wedding party, like, on these trips?
Exactly.
Like, you can have 3 bridesmaids, but then you can have these other girls that you want to invite to celebrate with you, like, that don't necessarily have to be in the wedding. And honestly, they probably will just thank you for it, because then they don't have to spend like $300 on a bridesmaid's dress, but they get to have all the fun.
Right. So. And same thing with like guys, for example. Let's say you have a lot of guy friends and you want to include them all, but you want a small wedding party. You can not only include them in the, bachelor party, all the trips and kind of stuff, but you can include them as ushers to where they're still a part of your wedding day. They still are included, but are not technically walking down the aisle doing all the things and they're not in as many photos. They're still in some photos, and so it'll add a little bit of time, but they're not in every single wedding party photo that exists.
And then there's also like other ways you can have people be involved in your wedding that's not having them in the wedding party. You can have one of them like be your officiant. You can have people do readings or like read some like Bible verses or something like that. Or we've even seen where they'll have like some of their friends like maybe sing like a worship song during the ceremony or something like that. So keep in mind, like, just because you have people that you love and care for and want to be involved in the wedding does not mean they actually have to be in the wedding party. You can have them do other things.
Right. And don't forget that the reception is still a thing. So, like, cake pulls is a great way to have like a bunch of girls involved that you probably wouldn't necessarily want in the wedding party, but they're still important to you. Like, think of, like, younger nieces that you're like, I want to include you, but don't really want you in my wedding party because I have all my other friends. Things like that might be a good way to
like if you're having to cut the list short, you can use them in other ways. Speaking of like nieces and stuff, that can transition us into the kids part of your wedding party, because you don't have to have these, but if you want flower girls, ring bearer. That's a How I Met Your Mother reference if you don't know. But if you do, then you know. And then, and same topic of being kids. Like, are you going to have kids in your wedding at all? Because if you're not going to have kids, like, at the reception, you might want to think about, like, oh, I don't even actually need a ring bearer or a flower girl. Right. Or the ring bearer and flower girl can just be part of the ceremony, and then someone can take them home afterwards. You can also have, like, flower boys. That's like a thing now. Yeah, flower men. I think I called it flower man. Or both. Because like that's like a trend now where the guys will come down the aisle with a little fanny pack of petals and that's a fun time. That always gets people to laugh. Yeah. I'm a fan of that. Or like flower women. We've had like older girls like be it like a flower girl. So things to think about.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to break like the quote unquote norms, right? Like you can do whatever you want. You're getting married, right?
Yeah, you could have like a bridesman,
right,
or a groomswoman.
I don't know, but either way, you can literally do anything and everything that you want.
Right, you can do anything you want, but you should just be sure to let your photographer know, because whenever we have like a formula of things that we go through when it comes to portraits, just because typically that's the way things go. So if there is something out of the norm, let your photographer know. That way they can make those notes and changes and like
not look like a fool.
Yeah.
Like one time I'm taking a what I thought was a groomsman photo and they got a girl in there. I'm like, girl, get up out of here. Yeah. But really, she's a part of the groom side. So my bad, homie.
Right. So just make that clear to your photographer. Right, exactly.
Which is cool.
Speaking of sister, we're going to also transition to the topic.
Good grief. My girl is transitioning all day, every day. But yeah, that does bring us into family.
Yeah, family. So like if you are having a hard time narrowing down, picking your wedding party, I mean, I feel like leaning into the family aspect is like a real easy way.
To not hurt feelings too.
Right. Like it's an easy cutoff. Like, oh, sorry, we're only including family in the wedding party. But, like, we want to have you involved in other ways. Right. Like, if you got, like, 19 sorority sisters that you cannot narrow down, just doing family is like a super solid way of avoiding that awkward situation.
Yep.
And then they'll just be involved in everything else. Like, so you could just have like sisters, nieces, cousins, future sister-in-laws. I have my future sister-in-law on my side, and I don't really have that much family, so that was not really an option for me, but I also don't have that many friends either, so didn't have that issue.
Yeah, the issue for us came up because I have a lot of friends and a lot of family.
Yeah, it was like I had like my best friends on like as my bridesmaids, but then I also had like friends that I had made since knowing them. Like I had very little to pick from, but I loved like who we picked for our wedding party, and I would pick those exact same people again, honestly.
Same.
I would probably be torn on adding a few more.
Yeah.
But I would not
I wouldn't
change.
take away anyone, I don't think.
Yeah.
For sure. Would definitely, maybe, like you said, would have the problem of wanting to add more, but we still had a decently sized party.
Yeah. And it worked out because a lot of our people were couples.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah.
Really two. We had 2 couples.
Yeah. But that's a third of our wedding party right
That's true.
there. So, but yeah. I think this is a good spot to take a break. Are we still taking a break?
Yeah, we got to thank our sponsors.
Full transparency. This is probably like the 5th break we've taken since recording this current podcast.
Yeah, that is true.
Should we take an official break and have a word from our sponsors?
Absolutely.
This episode of Behind the Studio is brought to you by coffee. What's the thing that gets you on your feet and out the door at the crack of dawn? What's the drink that makes you anxious and jittery, but still your body relies on its sustenance? What's the thing that gives you terrible breath, but you drank it in the morning, so you've already brushed your teeth, so you just live with bad breath for a few hours and avoid breathing heavily into anyone's direction? Coffee! Got a headache? Make some coffee. About to go into a meeting? Make some coffee. Trying to decide what task to do next, but making that decision is too hard, so you need to do something in order to feel productive without actually being productive at all? Make some coffee! This is a spoof advertisement. Any and all resemblances to real companies is purely coincidental and not intentional. We are not sponsored by any entity other than our own willpower. If you're interested in advertising with us, you can email us at contact@320studio.co.
Welcome back.
I hope you enjoyed a word from our sponsors. Someone told me that winking is really just lifting your cheek up, but that still doesn't work for me.
Also, you said that you don't know how to wink, but literally in the second episode, you did a wink.
And it looks like she won't. Just now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just really good at pulling it off. I think if I make it really exaggerative, you don't notice the fact that my other eye is open.
Your
Also,
other eye
if
is open? They're supposed to be open.
I mean, my other eye is closed.
Oh.
Like, my other eye is not open.
I was about to say, that's still a wink.
And, like, if I turn, then you don't really see this eye.
It's open.
Oh.
Are you not seeing out of it?
I guess I am.
We've encountered a problem. What's up, guys? Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that quick note from our sponsors. We're so thankful for them and all that they do for us. So now that we're hopping back in here, Danielle, tell us a little bit about when and how we should ask people to be a part of our wedding.
Yeah. That's a very solid point that we need to talk about is asking your wedding party.
Yeah, because that's important. Because, fun fact, I was actually in a wedding that I wasn't actually asked to be in, but kind of was. It was weird. So my friend was getting married, and it was just assumed that I was going to be in the wedding because like we were super close and super tight. But one day we just saw their wedding website, and blammo, Dylan is in it.
Yeah, Dylan's a groomsman. We're like, good to know.
Fun. Yeah.
So that was cool. My theory is that the fiance was tired of him not asking his guys. Like, he was just taking forever and just putting it off. Like, he had apparently picked them, but, like, had never asked them. And she's like, you know what? I'm just going to post the website, and then you're going to be forced to select your party that way. That's my theory.
It's a very likely theory. It's possible. But anyway...
So it's important to ask.
Yeah, to officially ask.
And it's fun. Like, you can make it really fun.
And give them sweet gifts. Even if they're not expensive gifts. Like, some people go ham and get...
Don't go into gifts yet.
I'm not, but I'm just saying. Some people go ham and go crazy. And you don't have to.
Oh, yeah, no. You could just write them a haiku. Who knows? But before we get into how to ask them, when should you ask them? You really honestly should ask them as soon as you have a date.
Yep, just like everything else.
Yeah, but I mean, that's if you know. Like if you're taking a while to decide, trying to narrow down, that's fine. But just as soon as you are ready to ask them, you should ask them so they can plan, save the date, especially if they're like coming from out of town. They'll definitely need to like make travel arrangements.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So when should
and
you
the
ask
sooner
them?
that they know too, and the sooner that, like, if you have plans for parties or whatever, the likelihood of them maybe being able to take off,
right? Yeah,
is
not
possible.
Just the wedding
things
day.
like that. Yeah,
it is any kind of like bridal
Festivities.
shower, couple shower, honeydew
Bachelorette
shower,
party.
bachelor. There are an endless amount of things. So, yeah, the sooner the better.
Yeah, pretty
basically,
much.
is when you should ask them. How do you ask them?
You could just straight up be like, yo, be in my wedding, yeah? And they could be like, yeah. Or...
yeah, you could, like, send them a text.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Or you could go all out and get them a crazy cool gift, or just a regular gift.
Yeah, like people do like just cute little gifts. Like I've seen girls do little boxes with like wine glasses and whatever, and like I don't know, just little trinkets or things like personalized things. Like I think one of my gifts that I got as a bridesmaid was like a little wine stopper with like my initials, like monogram on it. So you can just do little things like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we got, like, your groomsmen, we got them all, like, a pair of socks.
With a custom, we made, like...
oh, like a little custom, like...
packaging, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
That was, like, we be in our wedding. And something else, too.
I don't remember exactly.
I don't know.
And then I got my girls, like, all, like, a little bottle of wine and, like... something else. And
yeah, I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but like we've seen people go all out and get like these full big boxes where they've got like, you know, a whiskey glass and a bottle of whiskey and a cigar and a knife and all these things, and it's like, man, you could do that. That's pretty cool, but it could get expensive if you've got 100 people. Or you could just do something simple like, you know, a cool pocket knife and a note that's like, yo, me and my wedding, or I don't know, anything.
Yeah, you could have like a nice little dinner, like where you ask them all, like, to go out to eat.
All at once. That would be fun.
That's fun.
I've gathered you all here today to be a part of my wedding. Say yes.
Yeah. So, and then we also have some blogs on our website.
We do, actually.
And bridesmaid gift ideas.
Yeah.
So, a little plug there.
Yeah, check those out. We'll put those in the show notes. That way you guys can peep those. But they're good. Give you some ideas. Get the ball rolling. And then obviously, like, this is like an endless kind of topic of like what to get people and things like that. But ultimately, ask them and make sure that they know. And then something to keep in mind is like making sure that they are able to. Right? Like if they do live like in New York and you know everything is happening here and you know they probably won't be able to, then like maybe don't ask them, but tell them like, hey, I love you a lot. I chose this because it'd be easier for you, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
And like you might have a friend that's like straight struggling with money.
Yeah.
And you know it's just gonna really be stressful for them to attend / contribute to all these events. And you could just talk to them too and be like, look, I do want you to be a part of my wedding, but there's other ways that I can have you involved if you feel like this is going to be too much of a financial burden on you.
Or even a time burden, honestly, because like some people are full-time working, full-time in school, you know what I'm saying? Like has families. Like it's okay, I think, to consider other people's lives as well. Yeah. And just having like an open, like honest conversation with them and be like, hey, you know, this is what's up.
Yeah. It makes me think about that scene in the Bridesmaids movie where like their bridesmaids dress shopping and she's like, I like this one. It's nice. Pockets. It's got pockets. You can move in it. And
it looks good on everyone.
Yeah, it's a nice color. And she's like looking at the price tag because the other dress that they're all looking at is like $800. It's the party. But anyway, so it just makes me think of that. But so something to think about, like, you know, some people might have their feelings hurt by you not including them because of their financial and time situation. So, but you know your people, so you know how to go about that. but something to think about.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all that we have for you guys. But I do want to see, Danielle, do you have any last final thoughts about
Well,
this
ultimately, like, who you pick for your wedding party, like, you want to pick people that are going to, like, surround you with love and happiness for you and fun and have, like, all your, like, best interests and not try and make it about themselves. Because I've heard some, like, horror stories of where, like, these bridesmaids are just, like, worried
Not
about
fun.
themselves.
Yeah.
And, like, I've known brides who have had, like, a bachelorette trip that is absolutely nothing like what they wanted to do, but it was what their bridesmaids wanted to do. And that's no fun.
Yeah, that's super
Like, this
lame.
is the one time in your life where, like, it's about you.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
like it's okay to be about you. It's okay to be a
Yeah.
little selfish in this moment
Right.
because the second you get married, that goes away. You have to be selfless.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's good.
Yes. Dropping that knowledge. Watch your feet. Watch your feet.
Yeah, so pick people that you're just gonna enjoy being around and are going to enjoy being around you.
Right.
And also, final note, you actually don't have to have a wedding party at all.
That's true. You really just need people to sign the
marriage
witness
license.
thing.
Yeah, be your witnesses.
Yeah.
Like, so you could just scratch this off entirely and be like, nah, I'm actually not gonna have bridesmaids and groomsmen and all that, but I'm just gonna invite them to the wedding fun things.
Yeah.
And
like you can even this is like not super duper common, but I've seen it where you can just have like your parents in your wedding party and it'd be like your parents and you and like
right,
super
yeah, like your
sentimental
parents like
in that
stand
way.
up there with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So like again, think about this as like your day. You don't have to go with the normal, okay, we've got to have 5 bridesmaids, we got to have 5 groomsmen, we got to have 2 ring bears, we got to have 2
Ooh,
flower
that's
girls.
another final note too.
You
It's
didn't
like,
correct
don't
me. I
have
said bears. Bearer.
Bearer. But like that's another little last minute thought we're going to keep you with. Last minute thought that we're going to leave you with is like you don't have to have an equal amount on each side.
Yeah,
you can
that's
have
true.
like one bridesmaid walk down with 2 groomsmen,
Or by herself.
or by herself, or vice versa. You can have like any combination you want.
You
But
do anything.
so, yeah.
Literally.
the note we're gonna leave you with is like don't feel like you have to go with the norm.
Right. And this is your last chance to like make it how you want it to be.
Yeah.
So make your dreams come alive.
Oh my gosh, that was not as good as your be selfless now because once you're married, or be selfish now because once you're married, you got to be selfless.
Yeah.
That was better.
It was better. We'll end on that. So
Yeah.
say bye.
So, all right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
And watching.
And watching. Yep. Tune in next time for episode 5.
Yeah. Well, what are we going to talk about on episode 5? Our girl does not know.
Do you know?
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about the actual wedding.
Okay.
I made that up. I don't know
No.
what we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
Evan, pull that for us, buddy.
So next episode is actually episode 4, and
Oh, frick.
we will be talking about the big day.
Let's go.
Okay,
So
all right.
join us next week for episode 4, where we'll be talking about the big day, the
Yeah.
actual wedding itself. So we'll
So,
see you
Yeah.
and talk
Thanks
to you
again for
then.
listening and watching. See you then.
Bye.
Bye. Just like my sweaty high five.
Nope.